You know what sound that is, folks? You betcha. That's another Elkworks Noon Whistle. I'm Chris Trottier.
And I'm John Anzalone, and we have the pleasure of speaking with Michelle Shilts today. How are you, Michelle?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for taking the time for us. Really great topic. You have some exciting news
I
for
do.
people and something you're really passionate about. So I'm going to let you, I don't want to steal the fire. I'm going to let you start with, we're talking about safe haven boxes, correct?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, maybe give us a little, just a tiny background. I know you could go way back on what they are, how they got started.
Okay. Safe Haven baby boxes are, in Wisconsin parlance, it's an infant safety device. They are installed usually at fire departments, hospitals, anywhere there's first responders. And they are a companion piece to safe haven legislation, which has been on the books in 50 states for 20 plus years. Most of those state statutes required face-to-face relinquishment. What a safe haven baby box does is it allows for 100% anonymity for the parent. So they can walk up to this box, that's in the wall of a fire station, hospital, police station, and put their baby in. It's a safe surrender. The first responders respond to that box within an average of under 2 minutes, and are able to take that baby, get it medical care, get it to the hospital, and get it on its way to a safe adoptive home.
So they're at places that are 24/7, right? Man,
Correct.
24/7. And
Correct. A few years back, we wouldn't have been able to host one in Elkhorn, only because our fire department wasn't 24/7. But now we have staff in the building 24/7. And, so that's what makes us eligible to do that.
and
Now,
there's some technology in though too, right? In the
there
box as far
is,
as like alarms to alert that a
yes,
child has been put
there
in there and
are
one and
3 levels of alarms in the boxes. There is a silent alarm that goes off when the door is opened from the outside that alerts the first responders that the baby box is active. Then when the infant is placed in the box, there is a beam, much like your garage door opener, the safety,
Okay.
that breaks that beam and then sends a 911 call out that there's been an infant placed in the box. Now that call goes out, but it's on a 60-second delay to allow for the parent to get out of Dodge, so to speak, to
sure.
maintain their anonymity.
So,
Um,
so Michelle, tell us a little bit about like what was your call to action? Like, I
my
mean,
call,
obviously, like we're sitting here, we're talking about this.
yeah.
Talk about the call to action, where you have taken this, how we are, are having this conversation in the Elkhorn community.
So 1 year ago yesterday, there was an infant boy found dead in a box in a field near Whitewater. And I read that news story and it broke my heart. I mean, it just absolutely crushed my heart. And I thought, we have safe haven. I knew this. Why is this still happening? And the story of that particular case is horrific. It is why safe haven laws exist, but it is also why a baby box could have probably saved that baby. Um, but so I saw the news story the day after that baby was found. I reached out to my church and said, "Is this something that I can pursue?" I'm the chair of our Human Concerns Committee.
Okay.
Father Oriole said, "Absolutely, go after it," because I was going to go after it regardless. But it's just if I could
Who
use
knows you?
That was my thought exactly.
Yeah, who knows
People
you?
don't know your passion.
Yeah, so it's like,
You-
okay, just
Your
there's
passion is admirable. When you
yeah,
get on
Yeah.
something, it's admirable.
there's a quote recently I saw, and it was, "I'm good at a lot of things, but taking no for an answer is not one of them." So anyway, my parish priest said, "Absolutely, we can do this." So I reached out to State Representative Ellen Schutt, and as luck would have it, that day I think there was a surrender in an Indiana baby box, really around that time. So when I did a Google search of safe haven, and what other places were doing so that this didn't happen, Safe Haven baby boxes is the first thing that came up in my Google search. And I thought, we need this in Wisconsin. And so I reached out to State Representative Ellen Schutt, and she responded within 4 hours.
So,
Um,
so I have a
and
question. Yeah, I have a question. So where's the gap in legislation, and why did you have to go that route in order to get what seems like fairly common sense,
Yeah.
right?
So Wisconsin's original safe haven legislation was interpreted to mean a face-to-face relinquishment, that you had to hand the baby to a first responder. Like leaving it at the fire station door was still against the law.
Okay.
That was an illegal abandonment. And most states were that way. I mean, there was about 13, I think, before Wisconsin modified theirs. And so I think now we're maybe up to 15.
Do you think in that case, even though it's a no questions asked, you hand it over to an individual, it still discouraged people because they're like, yeah, right, it's a no, right? Like I'm there, they saw me walk away.
Yes, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think especially in rural states, I just, everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows, recognizes somebody as, people might not know who my kids are, but they sure look at them and say, boy, they look familiar, And so I just don't think that face-to-face relinquishment works in rural states. I think that it's a bar too high. And thankfully, State Representative Ellen Schutt, she agreed. And so she took this on. And interestingly, and I didn't know this until the bill signing, she said it was quite a fight, that they had tried this 3 times before and it had failed. And it is, and I think we were just in the right spot. And unbelievably, and I think this was the first miracle of this whole process, was it passed unanimously. Out of committee and both sides and on the floor of both the state Senate and the state assembly. And I mean, that in Wisconsin's political climate, that is a miracle.
Chris and I have both heard you talk about this in different places, Michelle, and don't sell yourself short on your passion that I'm sure you relayed when you were up with the legislators and along the way. And just kind of to back up a little bit in the history of this, we talked a little bit before the show. The lady that started this was actually an abandoned baby at a hospital, correct?
Yes, she was. She didn't find that truth out in her life until she was well into her 30s. And it just lit a fire in her to, think what could have gone wrong. And she was an EMT herself. And so she knew some of that heartache. And we have someone at St. Patrick's who was a Chicago cop. And he is just all on fire about this project because he said, you can't imagine what we see. And to think that this is just another tool, it not only protects those infants, it protects our first responders.
Sure.
I cannot imagine the damage it would do to my soul to find a dead infant in a dumpster or in a box in a field. And so I just feel like it's such an important tool for the whole community. And I mean, honestly, where we're at here in Elkhorn, for all of southeastern Wisconsin, being at this intersection of major highways, being so close to the state line. Illinois has Safe Haven, of course. But to my knowledge, the only baby boxes might be in the city of Chicago, that they're not anywhere else. And interestingly, Indiana has the most baby boxes. That's where the founder of Safe Haven Baby Boxes is located. And they get relinquishments from Illinois quite often.
What are our next steps, Michelle? What's like
our next steps?
We went to city council last night.
Yes, we passed unanimously through city council last night after some significant hurdles. I said in my speech there that as soon as you get insurance companies and lawyers involved, things get infinitely harder, and they did. But our city has some really wonderful people on staff. City Clerk Lacey Reynolds, Our city attorney, Ward Phillips, really worked hard on this to get this done. And, symbolically on the anniversary of that baby being found, I thought was amazing. You can call it, there's a lot of different things to call it. But it was really a blessing that we could do that in his memory.
And the other thing too is it was also National Sons Day.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I only know that because everybody posts pictures.
Yeah, I realized that late in the day, and
I think I saw you do it. Yeah.
So then now
my boys would have been crushed,
So now what's your next step? Where does it go, and who do you need to help?
We are fundraising. We have had some very generous donations from private individuals, from the Elkhorn Rotary, from churches, but we're not quite there yet. But the installation is just the start. That's $15,500. We're very, very close to that. I tell people it's the easiest fundraising I've ever done, though. It is, who likes a dead baby, to be crass.
No, right.
Yeah. So, but it's billboards, it's public education, because that box isn't going to help anyone unless people know about Safe Haven and know about the box.
So Michelle, we have this link strolling across the bottom that is a link that people can donate. Tell us where that link goes. Does it just go to a general center, or is it really purposeful to our area?
That is purposeful to our area. That goes to the Safe Haven organization, which they request that all funds in this endeavor, because they also run a 24/7 hotline. 24/7, they're answering the phone to women and families in crisis, to tell you about the resources in your state, to tell you about all of these things and the boxes. The box is a last resort. And honestly, they have had more relinquishments face-to-face than in boxes. And most of the time, they know that baby's coming because that parent has already reached out and said, I'm going to do this. And so they know that. And it's, we talked a little bit about some of the pushback on this. There's resources in the baby box for that parent to take out about their health, about public resources, about, the law that protects them. So it really, we're not abandoning those women either.
Sure.
And that hotline is available for them, forever too. They can call back in and say, hey, I relinquished, and is my baby okay?
So when people donate, they can be assured it's going to support the project for our area.
To our area.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, great work, Michelle. This is an amazing story, and we're so fortunate to have heard you speak about it. And congratulations on all your hard effort. Just to
I
never
just
repeat
overjoyed.
the bad story that happened in Whitewater. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Time goes by fast here in a noon whistle. So before we close, John, any shout outs or thank yous?
Today I'm just going to kick it right back to Michelle and thank her for her work and her passion and getting others involved and getting this started and getting the word out. Thank you for all you do and the extra time you take for these things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. It's truly an honor to help our community do this. It really is.
And I want to thank your church for getting behind this, and also, many fellow Rotarians and Rotary getting behind this. And we're lucky to have such an amazing community that gets behind worthwhile causes like this, just to save a life, right?
Yes.
Just to make everybody have a little bit better life. So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for being on the noon whistle.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No, we appreciate it. And John, anything else?
I guess one more thing, that I've known Michelle for 40 years and I wouldn't say no to her either.
You might try, but
I have never tried.
Well, thanks, Michelle. And John, thanks. Good to have you back on.
Thank you.
Back in studio here. So, Michelle, please come again, and we'd love to have you back on the noon whistle.
Anytime.
To hear a celebration of success when that thing's installed.
We will let you know.
And maybe John will be on site for that. That would be a great recognition.
That would be great.
Celebration.
Maybe we could do a fundraising push sometime through the noon whistle.
Oh, I like that too.
That would be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And on that note, I think it's time to go back to lunch.
All right. Thanks,
Michelle.
guys.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.